Assalamualaikum and a very good day to my fellow classmates and Dr. Rizwana. So, as you guys know, our seminar topic for today is about environmental cost and benefits. And all of you must be wondering, what does it mean by environmental cost and benefits? So, before we go into more details on this topic, we need to know what is actually meant by environmental cost management. Environmental cost management enables a business to control the costs associated with the environmental impact of a company's business operations. A company may impact the environment in a number of ways. It is including air pollution, manufacturing emission, and waste disposal. There are two important things under environmental cost management, which is environmental cost and environmental benefit. So firstly is environmental cost. It is the cost that an organization incur to prevent, to monitor, and also report the environmental impact and the cost of failing to comply with the environmental regulation. So, for the environmental benefits, it is the benefits enjoyed by an organization from the action taken to reduce the impact of the environmental pollutions. It is included in reduction or elimination of the carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emission along the length of the fuel chain. So, as a conclusion, an effective control of environmental costs and the promotion of environmental benefits will definitely help to increase a business overall profitability. Next, we move to the test of environmental costs, or known as the types of environmental costs. It is provided by U.S. Environmental Protection Agency 1998. They stated that the definition of environmental costs will depend on how an organization uses the information. So, for the first use is a conventional cost. It is a direct cost associated with the capital expenditure, raw materials, and other operating and maintenance costs. These costs may give a significant impact to the environment, and most of the organizations have this cost in their accounting system. Next, for second tiers is hidden costs. It is hidden regulatory costs from activities such as monitoring and reporting of environmental activities and emission, cost of searching for environmentally responsible suppliers, and the ongoing cost of cleaning up contaminated land. These costs also can be found in the accounting system, but may not be easy to find and report, as they can often hidden in the various overhead accounts and in the cost of wages and salaries. For the third tiers is related to the contingent cost. It is cost to be incurred at the future date and depending on the future events. The cost may be recognized within an organization's internal report. They are also disclosed in the notes of the financial statements included on the external financial report, but only if there is a high probability that the organization will be obligated to pay this cost in the future and if they are material in their amount. For the fourth tiers related to the relationship and image costs, it is less tangible costs and benefits reflect to the customer perception and employees and also community relations, in which it is very rarely to measure in a standard of information system, and this cost also very difficult to measure objectively. As an example, the cost of preparing the environmental report. Next is the fifth tiers. It's related to the societal cost. It is cost that organization impose to others, the environment, and the society for which they may not be held legally responsible and which cannot be compensated in the legal system. The costs are very difficult to recognize and measure because of the cost of estimating the impact and the specialized environmental knowledge that might be needed to do so. So, as an overall, the first four tiers that I have explained just now, it can be described as a private cost, as this environmental cost that can directly affect the profits of an organization, or the cost for which the organization can be held legally accountable.
Hi, and now I'm going to present and explain about environmental cost report. So, what is environmental cost report? It is the disclosure of information on management and the monitoring of the environmental impact of the extractive industries. The report contains detailed information about laws and regulation. It also contains detailed information on environmental management practices within the regulatory framework. Environmental report should also include information on environmental impact of business activities, both positive and also negative impacts. This is the example of environmental cost report. So, to calculate the total environmental cost, two major costs must be added, which are compliant costs and non-compliant costs. Under compliant costs, there are prevention costs and appraisal costs. On the other hand, the non-compliant costs are internal failure costs and external failure costs. So, let us take a look at each of these costs. Let's start with cost of compliance. The first one is prevention cost. What is prevention cost? It is the cost of activities undertaken to prevent the production of waste. The cost of prevention represents the company proactive effort to solve problems before they occur and turn them into opportunities. Environmental engineering effort to reduce and eventually eliminate pollutants can provide business with a long-term competitive advantage. About 70 to 80% of the prevention cost is often locked in during the design phase of the product. Therefore, managers should analyze the possible cause and effect relationship between their decision and future environmental impact in order to reduce as much as possible environmental waste. Example of prevention costs are costs on training on environmental issues and depreciation on environmental protection equipment. Second is appraisal cost. So, appraisal cost is cost incurred to ensure that the organization comply with regulation and voluntary standard. As a result of regulatory pressure to reduce air, land, and water emission, appraisal has become critical. Monitoring the production processes and byproduct is a priority. Companies that engage in monitoring activities will be able to detect problems early and take corrective action in a timely and cost-effective manner. Cost of inspecting environmental protection equipment and cost of environmental protection process verification are part of appraisal costs. Now, let me proceed to cost of non-compliant. The first one is internal failure cost. Internal failure cost is cost incurred from performing activities that have produced contaminant and waste but have not discharged into environment. These costs are the result of production processes that did not comply with regulation, exposing the company to a significant liabilities. Example of internal failure costs are cost of storing or disposing of waste and abatement costs for contained environmental hazard. The second non-compliant cost is external failure cost. It is cost incurred on activity performed after discharging waste into the environment. These are the most significant costs, and they start when the corrective efforts are beyond a company management control. The specific corrective measures to be taken are dictated by regulatory agencies or litigation. Non-compliant with environmental regulation may also result in fines or other penalties for a company. Example of external failure costs are cost of cleaning up of environmental problems and legal and litigation costs related to environmental problems.
Okay, next I will continue with why companies should manage its environment in controlling the cost and benefit. Consumers' growing knowledge of environmental issues has prompted business to evaluate the environmental consequences of their operations as well as to factor this into their decision-making process. Ensuring compliance with environmental legislation and the adoption of environmental best practice can enhance a company's long-term viability in the sector. One of the most important points is that portraying a business as environmentally conscious can boost its attraction to customers. This technique can differentiate the business from its competitors and attract environmentally conscious clients. For example, this body shop. The Body Shop is a skincare and perfume brand that opposes animal experimentation in the cosmetic industry and strives to create products that are naturally beautiful. Customers and investors are drawn to them as a result. And also, there are another two brands that are same like Body Shop, which are Yusof and Charlotte Tilbury. Furthermore, addressing environmental expenses in the cost of business can assist business in reducing waste and expenses. The finest example is a corporation that managed to boost energy efficiency and encourage repurposing existing material in innovative ways, which means less money is spent on purchasing new stock to manufacture items. The company will spend more money at first to build green business operations, but it will save a lot of money in the long run. Lastly, in order to safeguard the environment, the majority of states and countries have enacted environmental compliance for corporations to follow. To avoid government penalties, the corporation should abide with the law by accounting for environmental expenses in its operations. Fines, higher environmental tax duty, sales losses, and customer boycotts are only some of the repercussions. Thus, it is vital for the company to take into account the environmental cost as it brings benefits more than the drawbacks.
Now, I will explain examples of business activities in terms of costs incurred and benefits gained of environmental costs. First, we need to understand how do the environmental costs related to the business activities. If you guys pay attention, my friend Asshiqin has already explained that the first tier of environmental cost is the direct cost associated with the business operations. Hence, without they realize, the businesses are incurring environmental costs since the costs have direct effect on the business profits. So, the first example of business activity is the manufacturing industry has already been involved in manufacturing reusable grocery bags to replace conventional plastic bags. Even though the business needs to incur higher costs due to the production of reusable bags requiring more material and energy, but since the bags have reusable characteristics, thus can have a lower impact on the environment. It is because it only takes 14 times usage for reusable bags to be more eco-friendly. In addition, since the bags can be reused for a long time due to their durability, thus the demand for reusable grocery bags is quite low compared to conventional plastic bags. Hence, the usage of natural resources such as petrol and fossil fuels can be reduced since the production frequency for reusable grocery bags is not as high as conventional plastic bags. Second, the housing industry also has started to involve in environmental sustainability by proposing the concept of green building. According to Green Building Index Malaysia, a green building is a building that reduces negative environmental impact by increasing the efficiency of resources used during the building's life cycle. It is because the construction of green building utilizes sustainable building materials such as ventilation bricks, renewable energy that leaves little or no carbon footprint, and building materials that are composed of natural resources. In addition, the construction of green buildings also use recycled water. Not only that, the concept of housing in the greenery parks with 100% tree cover, the trees can remove from the air as much as 14% sulfur dioxide, 13% particulate matter, and 0.05% carbon monoxide. Example of eco-friendly houses in Malaysia such as Eco Ardens in Seti Alam and Eco Spring Tebrau. Next, Nike brand, which is one of the apparel, accessory, sports equipment industry, also produces products using sustainable materials. The products offered to the consumers on Nike's official website that are labeled with sustainable materials means that these products are made with at least 50% recycled content, and the shoes with the same label are made with at least 20% recycled content by weight. The sustainable materials that are mainly used for Nike's apparel and shoe productions such as are recycled and environmentally preferred polyester, nylon, cotton, ethylene vinyl acetate foam, corrugated or paper, and rubber. Besides, the commitment of Nike towards zero carbon and zero waste as part of their Move to Zero campaign can be seen when Nike changed their product's tag label made of recycled cardboard. The usage of sustainable materials had contributed to waste reduction to the environment, covering nice footwear manufacturing, distribution centers and headquarters.
Okay, next, let's proceed to the any existence of environmental law. First, what is environmental law? Environmental law is principle, policies, directive and regulation enacted and enforced by authorities to regulate human treatment towards non-human world, which means law that provide protection to the environment such as land, air, water and soil. This environmental law is indeed important. Why? Because without this law, there would be no regulation that concern about the environmental problem such as pollution, contamination, hunting or even respond to disaster. Thus, existence of this environmental law can give right to the government to punish any businesses who have treated the environment poorly. In order to cope with the environmental problem, the government has passed some important environmental law and policies. Refer to this slide, I have put some legislation applied in Malaysia. We have Environment Quality Act 1974, Protection of Wildlife Act 1972, National Forestry Act 1984 and last Fishery Act 1985. The first one is Environment Quality Act 1974. It is an act relating to the prevention, abatement, control of pollution and enhancement of the environment and for purposes connected therewith. It means these policies are designed first to restrict the discharge of waste into the environment, second to be in charge of the pollution control, and last with the objective of enhancing the environmental quality. Any businesses intended to carry out any activity that might have significant environmental impact shall submit a report to the Director General containing an assessment of the impact that such activity will have or is less likely to have adverse impact on the environment. The second one is Protection of Wildlife Act 1972. It is an act to consolidate the laws relating to and to further provide the protection of wildlife and for purposes connected with it. It means these policies are designed to curb the illegal trade in wildlife and the derivative part. Actions such as hunting and harming the wild animal are strictly prohibited. Thus, any businesses that violated this law should be subject to the disciplinary action by the authorities. The third one is National Forestry Act 1984. It is an act to provide for the administration, management and conservation of the forest and forestry development within the state of Malaysia and for connected purposes. It means these policies are designed to protect and preserve the forests of the country and prevent deforestation, which can lead to land erosion and the degradation of the land. Thus, any businesses that violated this act should receive punishment from the authorities since their act might give harm to the forest, such as illegal harvesting, unauthorized settlement or other unpermitted activities. The last one is Fishery Act 1985. It is an act that controls and manages fisheries in maritime and estuarine waters. It means this act provides the Minister of Agriculture with power to make regulation for the management and conservation of marine resources. The businesses that are in the fishing industry need to comply with this law so that the population of the fish and animal in the sea or river are well balanced and not vulnerable to the risk of extinction. Those businesses who do not comply with this act shall be guilty of an offence. That's all for me. Thank you.